So for those of you who want to know a bit more about the IELTS exam, this is a very interesting and very useful site. It's called IELTSexam.net, and if we scroll down we find a nice diagram here which shows exactly what's involved in the exam. This is the general training. Most universities and colleges, academic establishments ask for the academic module, and as you can see both modules have the listening. There are 4 sections and it takes about 30 minutes. The academic reading is 3 sections, takes about 60 minutes. The academic writing has 2 tasks, one of 150, a smaller one, and another of 250 words, 60 minutes again. And the speaking, it says here, 11 to 14 minutes. And the great thing is, if I scroll back up, I can show you exactly why this site is so useful for learners, especially learners who want to study on their own. If I scroll down, practice tests, here there are lots and lots of practice tests, which if I click on one, I get a full example of what an exam paper would be like. So here's the listening. As you can see, there's 4 sections to it. The reading part, there's 3 sections to it. The writing part, there's 2 sections, and the speaking. And if I click on the listening here, and again I scroll down a little bit, I can see the first listening task. It's usually quite an easy one. They start off with something quite simple, and in the exam itself you only hear the listening passage once. So usually the answers are quite short, no more than 3 words and or a number. When you're practicing here on the site, of course, you can listen. You click here, you listen. You can listen as many times as you like. You're practicing. And the great thing is, you can, after you've done the exercise, you can fill in the answers by printing this off or writing on a piece of paper. But you can check your answers just by simply clicking here, Show Answers. Okay, and you can check your answers to make sure you've heard them, you've found them. Here's a different one with a diagram. Again, I can listen. Once I've listened, I can check my own answers. And the really useful bit of this site is that I can listen to the whole tape script as well, and I can check any vocabulary, anything I didn't understand. It's all there. Okay, that's exactly word for word what I hear on the listening. So I can hide that, and I can go on to the next exercise, training myself. There's little tips here as well which help you along the way. It's a slightly different kind of exercise. You listen, you fill in the gaps here, you click on this and you can listen to the extract. Here's one that's got pictures. There's quite often a pictorial one, another one with some gap filling. So there's a variety of exercises, and you practice these on your own or with your teacher. This is a different kind where you just have to select A, B, C, and of course this is the more traditional multiple choice one at the bottom there. And again with the tape script, if we want to, we can have a look at that, check anything we're not sure of. And the last one is no more than 3 words and or a number, questions. Okay, and another one, we just select the letter that we want. So they're quite straightforward. It's a matter of practicing your technique. Now, moving on to the reading part of the exam, it's usually the most difficult for people because here are some questions. I'll show you the questions here. Okay, you have to choose the correct paragraph heading. The reason I say it's a little bit difficult is because the passages are usually rather long and difficult, and the reason they're long and difficult is because when you go to university or college, you will find that the passages you read there are quite long and difficult. And in actual fact, what the IELTS exam helps you with, trains you to do, is to be able to select the elements that you need for your studies. And it really is a great technique to learn. Skimming and scanning is the reading passage for this one. You see, they're quite long, they're quite difficult. Second one, different kind of exercise, gap filling, so learning some vocabulary using this true false, which is quite common but a little bit more difficult because it's IELTS. True false are not given. You have to think just that little bit much harder. And the final one is a reading passage, different kind of questions, tips along the way as well. Okay, and you have an hour to do that in the exam, so you have to be quite quick and you need to train yourself to skim and scan efficiently. Now, this is the writing task. For most people, most students, this is a new exercise. Basically, you have to make a summary of some kind of table, diagram or chart. You only have 20 minutes to do this. It's 150 words minimum. So you practice and you train, and here is a model answer. And what is quite nice on this particular practice test is that these here are comments from the examiner's feedback, what the examiner said, what mark they would have got. Band 5 or band 6 is from 9, okay, out of 9. Each part of the exam is graded for 9. And then this is the more traditional, of course, essay. You've got 40 minutes, write at least 250 words. Again, a model answer, keep going down. And again, it's quite nice because there's the examiner's comments, and this student, I think, wrote quite well, and they got 7 or 8 out of 9. Okay, and the final part of the exam is the speaking. There's 3 parts to it, quite traditional, I think. Part 1 is just to introduce you to the exam itself. It's not graded. And then part 2, they give you a card or a topic, and you have to speak for 1 or 2 minutes about the topic without stopping and without being asked any questions, which you need to practice. And then part 3 is the more traditional question and answer from the examiner, and it takes about 15 minutes, I suppose, the listening part of the exam. Now, as I said, the whole exam is the total is each section you get 9 points, 9 marks for each part of the exam, and then they add them all together and you get an average mark from 9. Okay.